Thanks, Jesse. Welcome, everybody, to the June 1, 2002 Town Board Agenda Meeting. I'll go ahead and open the meeting with pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I'll go ahead and offer opportunity for privilege of the floor. And I just walked by the list. I think Pete Hoyt was first.
Stand over here.
Yeah, stand in the traditional. Thank you.
Okay. So I've actually got something to say tonight that may not be so controversial. And time's up. Yeah, that's all I gotta say, folks. No, this actually might be, I'm gonna recommend a slight change in the privilege of the floor policy. And I think it actually might be something that might actually benefit the board and those of us who stay for the full meeting. I was talking to a friend of mine that's on the town council of the town of Richmond. He told me that they do privilege of the floor before the meeting and again after the meeting. The benefit for the after the meeting is that it gives people a chance, you know, those who can sit through the meeting, it gives them a chance to comment on stuff while it's fresh. Action the board has taken are things that they've discussed under the present regime, when we can be separated by 3 or possibly 4 weeks between board meetings, between the business and the following agenda meetings. You know, things get forgotten, things get stale. I just wonder if it might be a lot fresher if that opportunity were offered. And it may not take that much total extra time. Might even take a little less. Folks wouldn't feel perhaps they have to rant so much at the beginning. And there would be the filtering effect, of course, if folks have to kind of stay here for the whole time too. So I offer that as a suggestion. And I will leave it at that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Pete. And then Todd Schmidt.
Evening. First, I want to thank you for inviting me to be on the equipment planning committee for the town. But I also want to talk a little bit about governance and collective governance of the board. The equipment planning committee, I guess, as you know, was about, you know, thinking about a plan for suitable replacement of highway department equipment over time. And so we had met once, and then we met a second time with Bobby, which was great because he provided input on his vision and planning and stuff that he's presented to the board before. And I'd asked Cal asked me to be on the committee to, what was their official charge. So when we report back, we have something to, frame our arguments around. Fair enough. And then the next time we met, there was a second committee, which was about facilities. And we met jointly, and which was okay. I mean, it's all capital, that's fine. But clearly with some different agenda items associated with it. And we were talking primarily about functional characteristics of the site selection, operational functional characteristics, site one. And so I asked again about sort of what the charge was the committee. My understanding was, form committees, there's some resolution of the board, which says what they're supposed to do. And so I hadn't found out, so on my way to work, I stopped by because it was office hours for Mark, and found out there wasn't any for either. And I just want to say, for clarity of things moving forward, I think it's really important. I think everybody's like, yeah, equipment planning, these are big purchases. How do we space out expenditures? What's the best thing in terms of the levy? And everybody's sort of on board on that, so you don't really think about it. But if there are other areas where you might have disagreement on things, being able to refer back to such a charge, I think is really important. Because I think, you know, sort of on the second committee led to a lot of confusion about what the committee was, what it was for. And in my sort of recollection of the things that transpired in the last couple of weeks, it was really like there was an initial committee with John Freisha and working with that engineering firm on site selection. And then there was this committee, which I don't think there was, well, there wasn't any action by the board to officially establish it, which is problematic, but it's just like the first one, right? No action was done. And I just think it causes unnecessarily angst and confusion and mistrust, because what I've come to understand is there's actually a new committee that is looking to be formed, given the current site selection and moving forward with the RFP and all those things going forward. So I think everybody's intentions were great, but it got really confusing and unnecessary, I think, if we just think about sort of some governance protocols and stuff that even, you know, how you appoint people on committees is dependent on what the nature of that work is. But I'm just talking about sort of the formation of it. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Todd. And I will say, totally agree with that. And we have put that on the agenda for tonight for discussion. So thank you. I could go up and see if there's anyone on the list, but is anyone else on the list there? Okay, so Bruce Murray.
Yeah, I apologize because I ran home from work and between the airplane drops and did this. But was thrown off by the agenda, but we'll go from there. You know, coming to the meetings and listening and everything as far as comprehensive plan and everything else, everything's green, green, green. The town talks green, but the town needs to act more green. When it comes to the town barns, fixing the old building, it's like putting a patch on something. If you have the opportunity to pass on a new building to the next generation, and this will last forever, rather than pass something on that will need to be fixed, and you really don't have the room. If you want to talk green, we could go as far as to talk about the salt bins. They run into the drain. The drain runs into that creek. That's in part of the watershed overlay, corner of that lot. Not to mention that even begin to talk about the oil, because as long as those town barns have been there. So if you're gonna spend a huge expenditure, you're supposed to be really looking long-term in something that's gonna be cost-effective more than build another small building. Eventually you have to tear that one down in the front anyway, so why not just tear it down? Either that or move it to where you can expand. Like I said, you'd be able to pass something on that doesn't need to be fixed again to the next board or the next generation. Now we'll get down to rental. Rental of an excavator. Rent it once, it's okay. Twice, not really. 3 times, a shame on you. Use the money from the rental for a down payment. How many times in the life of an excavator will the town need to rent one? That's the question to ask yourself. So, you know, Todd and them are on a new committee. I think we should really listen to what they have to say as far as equipment buying and this or that, everything else. Now, go on to this new local law. I truly hope that this is an introduction, because this needs to be really looked at and discussed, and it needs to be looked into more. And I'm not sure if this is just the town board's decision or not to be made either. This needs to be researched and understood a lot more than this. Like I said, this is the first time I've heard of this, so I apologize. I haven't had a chance to really look at the law, but I will be looking at it, and I think everybody should have the chance to really look at it, read it, understand it before it is put into a local law.
Bruce, who are you talking
So, an introduction of a local law authorizing the town's public bodies to use video conferencing technology to participate in public meetings.
forever?
I believe, I'm not sure, it doesn't say, but I would think so.
Just for privilege of the floor, thank you, Bruce, for your comments. Well taken. And I just offer we are looking long-term at the highway site. So thank you, and thinking of impacts on the earth. So great. Anybody else wish to address the board? So, great. Thank you for your comments. And I will move on to, yes, this is truly an introduction. Anytime a local law is considered by a town, the first thing that has to happen is that it's introduced to the public. And at that time, the board, subsequent to that time or at that time, then sets a public hearing for further consideration. So I am hereby introducing a local law authorizing the town's public bodies to use video conferencing technology to participate in public meetings. I do invite everyone to read the local law. It does require a quorum of the body to be physically present at the place where the meeting is held. And it also stipulates that remote attendance is allowed under certain conditions, not just anytime someone wants to. So, so I'm introducing that local law. Along with the local law, the town board will need to adopt a protocol that's consistent with the law that specifies the conditions and the bodies of the town that are subject to this this provision for remote attendance. I also want to note that this is only slightly different from existing open meetings law. So under existing open meetings law, remote attendance is allowed. And the only difference is that those remote attendees need to advertise and allow the public to attend wherever they're attending from. So, so that's a key difference.
Can you say that again?
I don't know, probably not the same way, but so the open meetings law currently allows remote attendance of public officials to
Maybe
public.
Maybe remote participation is a better way.
Yeah, okay, remote participation.
Okay,
If they advertise their location, they're going to be attending from, and allow the public to observe at that location. So if you attended from your home,
yes,
you would need to allow the public to
to come in and
come to your,
serve.
or to be able to observe.
So we can all go to Kim Murray's house?
That's the way it's always been.
Yeah.
Under existing open meetings law.
Now, can the town supersede state
Well,
law?
right now, it's, we're still under the emergency provisions. So no, you cannot. So that is, so anyway, so,
Can I ask a quick question?
okay, go,
Is
Bruce.
there a number of meetings that you have to make in person or no?
No,
No,
Okay,
no,
just asking.
so,
Okay.
so we will be, you know, I guess I'll open it up now for some discussion, but we'll be drafting a video conferencing protocol to go along with this for the town. They need to go hand in hand. And so, and I have models from the town of Lansing and the town of Ithaca. So this has been being done widely in New York State. This was something Governor Hochul authorized with the budget bill. And so it's something towns are doing to enable people to attend remotely under extraordinary circumstances. So, but one of the things in the meeting protocol is we will define the circumstances that qualify for remote attendance. So,
Those circumstances can be ongoing.
so
They can be ongoing. It's not like a one-time emergency or something. It could be somebody declares these are my circumstances that conform with the law, and it would be ongoing. Permanent.
this law,
Somebody staying away from the meetings, like.
Mark, could we have a discussion amongst the board, please?
Sorry, Tim.
It is, I mean, we will discuss this, Pete, so, it, as I said, it's supposed to be, under extraordinary or unanticipated circumstances, so, but there is
Anticipated up there.
leeway, please, respect the meeting, please.
Yep.
Um,
This is,
So
We're
I do
supposed
want
to
to
be
keep this to a
discussing
board discussion
at the
now.
board.
This isn't an open discussion. So I did send out a model, but this town of Ithaca's protocol. There are others that Guy shared with us. So, and then I did ask Guy a question about the different committees on the town and whether this, the thing that I would regret is not allowing some of our advisory committees to meet entirely remotely if they chose to do so. Our watershed committee is meeting that way now, perfectly functionally and perfectly happily. And so he did provide, I thought, some really helpful guidance. And so I think that's something that we should consider in drafting our protocol, how we want to structure that. So
Mark, did you receive Guy's clarification of that, which he sent later this afternoon? I think it was around 6 p.m.
yes, I did.
oh, I didn't see that.
I did. Is my recapitulation in line with your understanding?
No, I just think, I thought he made it a little bit clear that committees that are just advisory would have more latitude than the board and standing committees in relationship to virtual meetings.
Exactly. That is what I was trying to say, even if I didn't say it. So yes, thank you. So I think we should think about that, but there are the town board, the planning board, the review board, those are statutory public bodies to which open meetings law applies and which would require a quorum of the body be physically present at the location.
When does the state emergency law stop?
For this, I believe it's this for continuation, it needs to be in place by June 9th. So,
would we have special designation authority to call the capital planning committee an advisory committee so that it would qualify, or is it?
Actually, Guy mentioned that very committee and said it, in his opinion, it would qualify.
Okay.
For as an advisory committee. So that was an interesting point that he brought up. So yeah, so it's a statutory body, but it is advisory. It doesn't have any authority to spend money or make decisions on behalf of the town. So, and other committees that we have are also statutory and advisory.
I mean, I guess for me, part of it's just extraordinary and special circumstances that it doesn't become an account, you know.
Right, that's what we need to
Common
define.
practice. Well, or just however we define it.
Right. I mean, there was language that in the policy that I sent you that, you know, specify. But I would think that anyone who perceives that a public health threat is a threat to them or their family, that to me would qualify those kinds of things.
So my feeling about this is that it's really unfortunate that it is corresponding in this way with COVID and timing and all the public perceptions of who's here and who's not, because
Yeah.
personally, I mean, I think that in terms of accessibility, and there's an argument to be made around the ADA in terms of remote access as a reasonable accommodation for anyone. I mean, and looking into the future, if we have a board member with an access issue, we are obligated and by law and ethically and morally to allow that person to participate fully, which would be considered, you know, so personally, I just think it's really unfortunate that this is turning into like, whether or not, quite frankly, whether or not Tim Murray is here, like this is not what this is about. And so respectfully, you know, I would really move that we have this conversation be separate and apart from COVID and just say, okay, like we now have teleconferencing as an, you know, a tool to use for our town.
Right.
And how do we want to use that tool? And I personally would say that we should use it flexibly and without any sort of restriction to say you need to have some sort of qualifying reason, because in the future then we're going to then have to distinguish between what's a reasonable accommodation for access versus like, I'm afraid, you know, of a particular public health consequence. So
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, we could talk about this with Guy because
Yeah, did you see Guy's comment?
I did,
Okay.
but it's not like, because this was introduced in this particular moment of COVID, it's
Right.
like, it's become like a COVID thing.
Right,
And just for me as a, you know, like just concerned about access generally, I mean,
Right.
I think we would not meet that
Oh.
without teleconferencing potentially for people who need that.
totally agree. And I mean, a main point that I took out of Guy's message is that there's a huge amount of flexibility and we have to make a decision as a board about what we think is appropriate for our town. So I'm in total agreement with that. So I think I don't think we have to decide right now, but I think over the next couple of days, we should craft a resolution for the policy to put forward next week with that in mind. I am in total agreement with that.
Yeah, I like meeting in person. I know lots of people feel that way. But I also know, like, if I have to drive a half hour to a meeting, for a committee meeting, and a half hour back, or 40 minutes, it's a lot. It makes it possible for me to be on a committee sometimes with the Zoom, much as I like overwhelmed with Zoom meetings, but it's actually really great. I mean, or roads are bad, or your car's not working. I mean, there are a lot of different problems that could come up. And I also like the fact that people can be at home, right? And still see the board meeting. That would just be there anyway, right?
Yeah, that's a given. That's a given.
So there are a lot of good things with that, and we need
Right.
to hold on to those.
So I agree with that. I just want to clarify with respect to this video conferencing law and the protocol. I respect that we have latitude, but I don't think convenience would be allowed. That it would have to
I was
be,
thinking with the committees.
yeah, well, the committees, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I
Right.
agree with that.
Not with
Right, for the town
the
board,
town
yeah,
board now.
exactly. So it has to be something more than that, like, yeah. And I will be scrutinizing more the samples that Guy sent and maybe looking beyond to see. But what he said is there's, you know, it's all over the place, so towns are doing their own thing, so.
I mean, well, it is I mean, one of the examples he brought up is if somebody's on vacation, right?
Right,
Or would they just not come to that board meeting, or would they just not be a voting? Say they Zoom in to the meeting, but because of the protocol, they can see what's going on, but they don't vote. I mean, for the rest of the board. That's what I'm
Yeah.
not understanding.
well, they could certainly do that.
Right.
And, but what he pointed out very quickly in his message was that the town of Ithaca dealt with that by allowing people to, allowing public officials to attend remotely during brief absences, undefined, but so
Well,
if
you're
you're
traveling
traveling
a lot for
across the
work.
country,
It doesn't
yeah,
have to be
for work or
vacation, it could be
something,
for
then-
work or something
yeah.
like that, and still be able to make the meeting.
right,
That makes sense.
On vacation, you don't do it.
If you're on vacation, you're on vacation.
Yeah.
We in Caroline promote healthy work-life balance. You should not come to the meeting.
I was talking to a former supervisor in Tompkins County once who told me like she went to her sister's house and in like another state and went to the town board meeting there. So that was her vacation. So,
Good enough.
yeah.
I was just to touch on settled, it's the way, one of the guy's notes that I read just seemed to suggest that the law and rules weren't very settled yet.
Right.
That just troubled me. That just, to me, suggested holding off to see how
Well,
things.
the law is clear. So what I put forward was basically boilerplate from the Association of Towns
Okay,
model thing. If you look, Guy provided us the law that he wrote for Lansing.
yeah,
You can see,
okay, so what do you meant by all over the place?
So the
What's different
policies-
piece Were.
exactly. And those policies, those are by resolution. So the local law will be the local law, the policy will be a resolution. Oh, sorry, that's mine. It can be modified by the town board, so.
You're fined $100.
What's that?
You're fined $100.
It'll go away.
We have a soundtrack. And this one, you said the local law is a template from the Association of Towns, right?
Yeah, I modified it from the AOT template. Okay.
So Mark, really what we'll have to just come to terms with is the latitude with which we want to define the participatory possibilities. So it's fairly limited what we have to do, but we have to do that
That's right.
and decide what latitude to give committees.
Right, so,
Committees that don't fall under open meetings law or committees that do fall under open meetings law or both.
That don't, so we could easily decide not to require those committees to have to meet in person, but my sense of it is we have to make a call one way or the other.
yeah. We have to make a call one way or the other. My feeling now is to draft it so that advisory committees are free to meet remotely if they wish. Yeah, but you're right. So for our real task is going to be just defining the situations where this would apply for members of public bodies, for public officers. And I don't think there is language from the model policies that I got. It's not, it's not going to be a laundry list. It's going to describe general situations where, there's an exigent need that prevents the public officer from being present, and it makes total sense that they would be able to apply to attend and function as a board member remotely. So to me. Okay. Okay,
Yeah. Seems like a
So,
no-brainer,
I'll
honestly.
put a draft out and we'll bat it around and put something forward for next month, for next week, for the next week's business.
So
meeting.
that'll be the public hearing next week as well?
The public hearing, yes, so now I would offer a resolution to set the public hearing for the beginning of next week's business meeting, June 8th at 7 p.m. Seconded by Kate. So that'll be a public, a public meeting on the local law authorizing the town's public bodies to use video conferencing technology to participate in public meetings.
Good.
Great, okay. So with that, I would like to move on to the discussion of how.
Mark, do we have to vote?
Oh, we have to vote, sorry. So, all in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed? Great, thank you. So moving on to discussion of the Highway Capital Planning Committee and Highway Facilities Committees goals and structures. And thank you again, Todd, for your comments. And I guess I would just start by saying we did discuss this, and so I sent out an email suggesting I tried to articulate as clearly as possible what came to my mind, and I'll just read that. So resolve, the Caroline Town Board hereby establishes the Capital Equipment Planning Committee to develop recommendations to the town board for cost-effective strategies for acquisition and management of needed highway equipment by the Town of Caroline Highway Department. And then I wrote a series of questions. So what are the equipment priorities? Evaluation of purchasing and reselling on a rotation cycle, which equipment and what is the recommended rotation cycle? What opportunities are there for purchasing of used equipment? Evaluation of owning versus renting or borrowing from municipal partners, which would involve consideration of the frequency of use. So the goal is to establish a highway equipment management process that is most cost effective and that provides predictability and stability in annual budgeting. So and I think so I will toss that out there and welcome edits, suggestions.
Yeah, I think it's something that, we've been talking about for quite a while, and we got a committee together and have been trying to address these very questions, maybe not in a formalized manner. The committee consists of Todd Schmidt, Barry Goodrich, Bob Spencer, Lenny Porgazala, help me out too. Kenny Hammond and Ed Kirkland and Cal Snow.
Okay, so before we go there, I'm just asking, does that seem like a adequate description of the charge for the committee? I reckon, as Todd said, we all have an intuitive idea of what we're trying to do.
Exactly.
So I'm not meaning to distort that. I'm trying to define it. So
yeah, and it's good to have a mission statement for what we go back to, so we don't get off into the weeds. And it's just such this whole thing. The more I think about it, I think as the committee thinks and talks about it, what a complex fabric this whole thing is between the equipment and the building and the personnel and the site location. I mean, this whole thing, I think we've got to get out of some of our own thinking, and I think it just comes with a very diverse committee just kind of kicking this around.
Okay, but I guess first,
Do you think that this is accurate?
Yes, but I just
okay,
it's accurate and more.
Okay.
Would you like to add to it?
I don't, the more we discuss it, the more all-encompassing it becomes. Like, well, so we've got, this is an efficient, productive equipment acquisition schedule. And it seems like a least cost, but then if we got this equipment, what about the trained personnel to run it? And then, well, how, where are we going to put these tasks to work? And just this, and
I don't see how that obstructs.
it doesn't, I don't mean to come across as obstructing. I'm just, and maybe just where my head is on this thing, I'm just thankful for the committee we've got and the way we seem to be able to
Absolutely. No
things
disagreement
around
there.
and just, I think one of the things, Todd, maybe you could help me on this, that if we could, come to a process that we've got the highway superintendent and the supervisor to agree that here's a good computer program that gets used to coordinate how things are processed and carried forward. Here's an equipment management, here's an equipment cost analysis, here's the work that's, I promised these people at first that, oh, well, we'll just, do a capital thing. It'll be 3 or 4 meetings and we'll make our recommendation and be done. And I'm, the more we talk, the more I just go, oh my God, am I?
Okay, so
I need some help.
well, I just want to get something that honestly I can present to the committee, to Todd, to put in their pockets that's satisfactory to the board as far as what we're looking.
That we can read at the start of every meeting. Here's our mission statement.
That's good.
You don't have to.
No, but those sort of things, when you've got this, it's just, and this whole thing is a huge lift for this little town.
Of course.
And we all know that, and we got to make it happen, and we're going to make it happen. And I don't know if I'm a man to the task, but I know I am.
You're part of
Okay,
the.
we'll take the last sentence.
Yeah.
It's a big thing, and we can do a lot more. I get so frustrated with seeing unshared services when the townie driving from clear the hell out on Bostwick Road to go work in Speedsville, dig ditch for an hour, drive all the fucking way back, pardon my French. And we gotta figure this out, and we need the infrastructure, we need the equipment, we need the personnel, we need.
Okay, there's no arguments here, Cal.
So anyway, so I just, and we've got a highway superintendent that knows these damn roads in this place and is excited about doing this job, and I want to support it. And
Okay,
and I want, this whole thing, we can work, it can help the school system with buses that run the same thing, clear down to Bostwick Road, run clear the heck out here to pick up kids and then drive all the way in with this $5 a gallon gas.
Okay.
This whole thing, I'm sorry.
I just want to rein this in a bit.
Yeah.
I understand your frustrations, so.
We need a mission statement to keep us so that we don't. Yes.
Okay, so just any edits or, when I spoke to you the other day, I thought you had some good ideas about,
Yeah.
creative ways of using equipment.
Yep.
And-
Yeah. And we've got to look into these.
Okay. So anyone else want to weigh in or on, right now I'm focusing on
A mission statement.
just the charge
Yeah.
for the
charge.
capital planning and equipment committee or whatever we're going to call it. So,
The town board weighing in, right?
yes,
Yes.
that's the town board weighing in.
Is this just for the board members?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you read that again?
I do not have anything.
Yeah, so the recommendations is to develop recommendations to the town board for cost-effective strategies for acquisition and management of needed highway equipment by the town of Caroline Highway Department. What are the equipment priorities? Evaluation of purchasing and reselling on a rotation cycle. That's an ask. Which equipment and what is the recommended rotation cycle? What opportunities are there for purchasing of used equipment? Evaluation of owning versus renting or borrowing from municipal partners, which would involve consideration of frequency of use. Final statement, the goal is to establish a highway equipment management process that is most cost-effective and that provides predictability and stability in annual budgeting.
I might put the last sentence at the beginning,
Okay,
just
put the
because
goal first.
that seems like that's the whole thing.
Okay,
I would put maintenance in there
And
somewhere.
then whether the details need to be articulated or not, I don't know, but.
I think that's a really good idea, Catherine. It's a really good idea.
Yeah, how you say it.
okay, so are you saying that that one sentence is enough? The goal is to establish a highway equipment management process. This is most cost-effective and that provides predictability and stability in annual budgeting. Period.
No, I think that you had a list of things.
Mhm.
You might want to say,
Just put that at the beginning and
That's
Yeah, but
one,
the-
and then Roman numeral number 2 is
Right, I mean, the list of things was good, but it's not all encompassing. For example, maintenance wasn't on there, right? Cost of maintenance and things.
Okay,
So you could say,
No.
you know, including but not.
right,
Cost, maintenance, resale,
great, thank you.
you know, assessment of emergency situations. So, I don't know, I'm sorry for my kind of going off, but it's just, it's such.
You're passionate,
Yeah,
and I can see that.
thank you,
so,
yes,
yeah.
I am. If nothing else, I want people to have good, dependable.
So I will make that transposition, but the last sentence first, and note that the items mentioned are not all encompassing or some language like that. So, and then,
I also want to say how important this committee is. And you know, it's, most of our taxes are going to take care of the
Yeah.
roads. And it's really important to the community. So, and I appreciate your work.
And I would just add that the board has been very, very committed to capital improvement of highway equipment. And this committee is just going to really assist us, because what we've really lacked is the ability to have a forward-looking progressive plan, so that we're not just falling back into the old habit of just replacing one piece of equipment willy-nilly at a time, but now we'll have some kind of, at least, you know,
Bingo.
overall game plan.
Information, like for me, like the excavator question, I had all these questions and didn't really have ways to answer them.
So for me too, and it starts to become even, you know, for thinking ahead, it's more than just highway equipment.
Yeah, it is.
You know, looking ahead, it's gonna be, you know, are we gonna have some sort of a police force in 20, 30 years? It's gonna need a location. But, you know, I don't know, the whole thing to me becomes a municipal facility, not a highway facility and, you know, highway equipment. It's gonna be maybe a, you know.
but right now I'm just focusing on the equipment.
Right, yeah, no,
Right now,
we have
We
to,
don't know what's gonna happen
Yeah.
30 years from now. Maybe there'll be lots of individual things, who knows? So,
but in, you know, in some things, I think we need to, well,
But I guess I would
We need
say,
to
I
start
heard your
small.
frustration about feeling overwhelmed. I think if we make these things discreet, we
Yeah.
have committees that are
yeah,
tackling
I
them,
just make
and we
myself.
put one foot in front of the other. I think
Yeah.
we'll be good. Great. Okay. Great. Anything else? Thank you.
thank you for writing that.
Yeah, great.
The Cornell Local Roads Program is next week. I'll bring that up. Bob
Okay.
and I are hoping to attend, and hopefully we'll learn something about
Yes,
these sort of things.
absolutely. I'm sure. That's cool. And that's at Ithaca College, right?
Usually was.
Y'all used to come to Royal Palms.
Close by.
Hmm?
A whole bunch of those highway superintendents from Sullivan County would come to the Royal Palms every night.
Yeah, there's no more Royal Palms anymore.
All right, so
Anyway. Hopefully we'll have more information for you next week.
great. So you let us know who the committee members are.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds great. So I had proposed a perhaps naive committee structure that didn't recognize all those committee. No offense meant. So now that we know who the committee members are,
Yeah.
it would be nice to formally recognize them.
Yeah.
I wonder, you know, if they maybe could come to the business meeting maybe and just introduce themselves or something. Would that be
Yeah.
cool?
Or we could just finalize it,
Excuse me?
or we could just finalize it. We don't have everybody come in from every other committee. Why are we doing that?
I just thought it would be nice to meet them. But I'm gonna go to the next meeting so I can meet them that way. So that's fine. So I don't know.
Do we need to appoint people? Is that what you're saying? Or do we just
I
want
think
to
we-
have a list of people? Like what do we need to do?
I think we need to formally, as a board, appoint.
Appoint them
Okay, so
versus.
do we have, and we have the list right now? So can we
Yes.
formally appoint this list right now and vote and do that?
I think we
Yeah,
could.
appointed versus asked by Cal Snow.
Okay, whatever your preferred language is,
Well,
I
I think
happy
it's,
with-
But
I think it's appropriate that they're appointed by the board, not
Right.
probably, just in a
Yeah.
protocol process.
It should be,
I mean, I'm just speaking for like the ag committee, like the way we do it is someone sends a message to Jesse and says, I want to be on the ag committee, and I say, welcome to the ag committee, and they're on the ag committee. So if I'm doing something wrong, and I'm like, if there's a process that we need to do for
Yeah.
every committee, then let's do that,
I guess that's-
otherwise this
that was
needs
my
to be
point.
the same.
We have.
I think that we did put out a call and the first two members did apply and we
Right.
did appoint them, and I
Right.
think that's a good process.
Okay.
I think for, I think there's some discretion depending on the kind of committee and the kind of work it's doing.
Okay,
I think for this committee, it's really important. It's a super, as Kate pointed out, this is a really important committee. It's helping to manage a huge asset of the town. So
We're gonna spend a huge amount of the town's money.
okay. There's like criteria that we're talking about, which is a
I
separate.
just.
It's fine, I just want to know what the.
Yeah, but I think there's something to be said if you're gonna be appointed by the board to one committee, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
yeah, I agree. So I do think that it's a good process, but I'm thinking about our watershed committee. We have people ebb and flow off the committee and,
That's good for.
they don't have, their advisory and so there's certainly been, there's laxity, but I think I think it's an opportunity to actually, I think it respects volunteers who are stepping up to help us to actually formally recognize them and
Mhm.
acknowledge their contribution to the town. So, I like doing that.
It's also good to have the volunteers actually say they want to be on the committee, not just like taking Cal's word for it here.
Yeah,
They asked and answered, it's already been done.
They've been voluntold.
yeah.
Um,
Okay,
Oh, so. Okay. So, shall we offer resolution? You want to offer resolution, Cal? To appoint,
you're a lot better resolution writer than I am.
so,
Resolution appointing to the town capital equipment and highway fund, but then
just capital equipment planning committee, would that be
capital
okay?
equipment planning committee and and I'll list of the names.
Perfect. Great. So the names were Todd Schmidt,
Yes, very good.
Barry Goodrich,
Bob Spencer. Len Porgazala. Ken Hammond. Ed Kirkman.
And you're liaising, right? Are you liaising?
Pete Hoyt and Cal Snow.
And technically, wouldn't Bobby be an ad hoc member of such a committee?
He's on there. Oh, you think you should be an ad hoc member?
I would think so, yeah.
what was that comment?
Ad hoc, right, just to recognize his position.
Just to
I
recognize.
think Ken means ex officio.
I see.
Right, that's fine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And do we get a second on that? Seconded by Catherine. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Highway or the Capital Equipment Planning Committee is formally designated by the Caroline Town Board. So, great. So then, final part of this discussion is that we, yes, so John Fraser led an effort last year that engaged engineering firm LaBerge to evaluate the 3 sites. And the town board unanimously chose one of the current site for the new facility. And so the plan was to put out an RFP for the rest of the project. So engineering, design, and construction of the highway facilities at the current site. So that's. So then the next question at hand is, so there was some discussion in a recent board meeting about how we wanted to formulate that committee, or if we will be engaging an engineering firm.
And what's the name of that committee?
I've been calling it the Highway Facilities Planning Committee.
Just to distinguish from, you're saying this is the capital equipment
Yeah.
planning, and then the other one was highway facilities planning.
Right.
And then last time I kind of went off on, well, I'd like the kind of the 2 committees to be one,
Together.
because to me, the facility is so, I mean, just this whole thing is a fabric. It's not a this and that.
Part of it though is trying to pull it apart to get
Yes.
bite-sized pieces
Yep.
done, so it gets overwhelming.
Yep,
And this way, I mean, it doesn't mean they aren't gonna be meshed together or working together.
so
And
maybe it's,
in
and then,
contact all the time,
Yeah,
you
and
don't work in like that, but
and then committee people don't get burned out, they've got a certain amount of time to give to something.
Right.
And if this, I don't want this stuff for volunteers going on and on.
and getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
I think for this, for this committee, the highway facilities will have the engineering firm that will be providing expertise and direction and guidance, and looking to the board ultimately for.
Who's currently on that committee, the highway?
It hasn't been.
Well, yeah, kind of, or we, the group that's been getting together is equipment.
But we haven't established a group yet, so I think we should really understand that in the sense that we
Right.
agreed that we would do an RFP and consider hiring engineering firms, but from my understanding, the board hasn't established a separate committee for that yet.
Right, and was there a former committee, Tim, where, I understand John Frasha was on it, but who else was on that? Was there anyone? Is there like a lingering old committee somewhere?
Me, Kevin.
Yeah, there's been this lingering on, and then there was Milt Tam and Ed Kirtland was on it, but things have been this sort of, there hasn't been this sort of formal focused mission.
Structure. to it,
Yeah.
No, we had told it in the middle of it, that put a damper on.
I mean, one of the things that I think that some of us on the board always felt is that the committee, the robust nature of the committee, for one reason or another, diminished. And it really ended up being, I think, pretty much, thankfully, led by John and Cal and Bobby. But there were many, many times during the process when I think that the board itself would have appreciated more information, more involvement, and more participation. And I think we have an opportunity now to reestablish this so that we can be directly involved, since this is such a major, major capital program for the town.
Yeah, Tim, I think one of the problems we have is that sometimes with committees, things seem to just languish. And I don't know if it's it just seems a certain inevitability, and we got to just renew our efforts to not let that happen. Because things did get way too stretched out, waiting on, RFPs for firms back. But we need to, have a mission and a recharge and get this going again. It's been too much talk and not enough action.
Well, I think we all totally agree.
Credit on that, so.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't know, I just think that, we've been talking, it was a year ago with the first RFPs just for the site selection went out, and it just seems like we ought to be able to, but there was a lot of now, let's not make excuses, let's just get to the next step and get
You
going,
could, we
Sounds
could
good.
call it a task force instead of a committee.
whatever, but, you know.
It's hard when we're relying on volunteers and
Yeah.
keeping energy up, and I think a focused mission statement will help these committees. So I'm hoping it'll.
So,
I think good progress was made last year too, so.
yeah. So we will have a report at next week's meeting from our committee for back to the capital, equipment. And then maybe we'll can talk more about going ahead with the facilities.
I mean, I think this should be a board discussion and a board. We
Right.
need to decide how we want to structure this.
I think we should discuss it now, and
Yeah.
I put a boiler, or, I pinned the tail on the donkey, threw something out there. It doesn't have to be that. It could be in the same structure as the facilities committee where there's a liaison.
Yeah.
Maybe the town supervisor and the
Yeah.
highway superintendent and whatever, how many volunteers may be interested or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't know.
You could contribute, so.
Think as if we employ, a liaison as a liaison is intended, then we should be able to have, continuous, regular, informative updates and
Progress.
feedback and all that, so.
Mark, the only disadvantage is of structuring it as a liaison. This liaison isn't as participatory as a board member would be. You hear what I'm saying? Just depends on how it gets structured. I mean, I would recommend that we populate this at least with 2 active board members, not as liaisons, but as active members of the committee.
Okay, I can appreciate that. I agree with that, actually. And that doesn't really,
See, is there a way, or just, can we get you on, I don't see you on our
Oh.
screen, and I'm
Yeah.
wondering if we can move.
he
the-
should be showing up when he speaks. Let me
just
see.
view,
Should be on speaker view.
wanna like derail.
I'm
this.
terribly sorry.
That's okay, I mean, we can hear you, I was just wondering if, where it's,
There we go.
there you are,
There you
okay,
go.
great, thanks,
That's funny you didn't show up.
But I have it on speaker view,
that's okay.
so how come?
Thanks, Catherine.
Yeah, that's good enough, I just didn't see him at
Where you
all.
go now? Okay.
Okay, hey, Tim, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Well, I can't see him yet.
Weird, it's not working like I
okay.
thought, so, okay, great.
So what about getting these RFPs out for the next?
Okay, so let's finish the
Okay,
committee
yeah.
structure thing. So Tim suggested, and I agreed, so. Couple of board members, Bob. On the committee, and then, maybe it does make sense to designate a number of, vacancies or whatever that we would fill with volunteers that would be interested in participating.
Yeah, people that are interested.
I mean, I think in this case, it's not as critical to have volunteers just because we'll be engaged with an engineering firm.
Yeah, we might not need as much of a.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we could revisit it. We thought we did need.
Yep.
Yeah.
We could. That's a good point.
Is there, I guess, I'm wondering, and Tim, you might have a feeling about this, but is there a reason to have a separate committee? I mean, it sounds like this is obviously gonna be the biggest like a huge thing for the town. I would anticipate and hope that like a full board is engaged with this.
Mhm.
So I guess I'm just wondering, maybe a little late, but I'm wondering
No,
whether it's necessary at all to have some separate committee, or whether this is like, the board is gonna put out the RFP, we're gonna engage with this firm. Bobby is engaged as in his role. I mean, I don't know, but like, do we need to separate this, or can we just,
I think
Do
that's,
this.
That's close to what I originally proposed, I think, and I don't think that's a bad idea.
And Catherine, I totally agree with you, actually. I think at this stage, our most urgent need is to put out the RFP and engage a firm. And at that stage, perhaps if we then needed to have a broader committee, we could do that. But I mean, right now, the real urgent thing, the entire board is going to have to be involved in it.
Cool. Yeah, I just don't want to hold it up by like,
Right.
trying to hold it up by anything really.
I hear you.
Okay.
So we don't need to make a highway specialist planning committee because we're all gonna work on it?
I think you would, but that's my opinion.
You think we do or don't?
I think you do. I think it's gonna be impossible for the 5 of you to get together to move this along at a faster pace than we talked about. You guys meet once a month now and everybody's on, I don't know how many committees already. So I look at it as a committee bringing it, the stuff to the board. Let somebody else do the legwork for you. But that's the way I look at it. I don't know how we're gonna stay on top of it.
Well,
I mean, we can't talk about it in a board meeting. Our board meetings go till 11 o'clock at night as it is.
Right. Well, there's a lot of work that goes on
So,
outside of meetings.
but if the 5 of us are all doing it, now it's not the meeting.
Well, not necessarily in person. I mean, a lot can go
If
on.
5 board members are together, it's all good.
Yeah, but document review and co-creating an RFP doesn't have to happen in person, right?
No,
I don't
that's,
know. I mean, I don't know. This is not my like area of expertise. I'm just thinking of like, the old like another meeting that could have been an email kind of adage, like, is this another committee that could have been a not committee?
well, I think it's,
I don't know.
maybe you said it, but, if we start that way and if we get down the line, we can create a committee if we feel the need. I think this is a good way to start. We can draft the RFP. We will want to formally approve it or adopt it at a meeting, and but that's something we can draft on our own. So, I mean,
Well, why don't we do that? And we can also think about whether, like, we get that out, and we can put some thought into whether we should narrow it down to just 2 people going over the responses. Along with Bobby, and then reporting to the board, or whether everybody should be reading it. I mean, and see how it goes. I mean, that's the option, right? We got the committee with a couple board members, and then we've got, or all of us reading the responses, right? Vetting the applications and making a selection.
Yeah.
I think it would be good for all of us to be reading it, so we know what's going on.
No,
I mean,
Yeah.
I know we're gonna hire a firm, but we have to have an idea of what we need going into it.
Yeah.
And who's gonna pick out the needs? Are the 5 of you guys gonna pick out the needs? This is where it comes in with the committee. Again, nobody's expertise is in this particular thing, so how do we know what we take to the engineering firm? Are we just gonna listen to the engineering firm and they say, this is the building you need, and this is everything else you need, and this is where it needs to go, and we just gonna agree with that, then that would be one thing, but for
We don't even
what
have a
you're
firm,
trying
right?
to try to pick out what we actually need when it's clear that everybody has said it over and over, this isn't my area of expertise, this isn't my area of expertise. So to have 5 people that this is not their area of expertise, to me, doesn't make any sense. That's why I was looking
Right.
for a committee with that expertise to bring some of that to the board. The ultimate decision in the end comes to the board anyway.
Right.
All this has to be presented to the board anyway, so that's where I'm at.
Right. Do you think a committee is required to hire the engineering firm though?
Well, no, I mean, the board's got to hire the engineer.
Okay, well, but I guess that's where we are. That's the only place we are right now.
Yeah.
Is there. And then once that process happens, then,
we'll decide.
right, I'm totally on board with obviously having needs assessment done by people with expertise, which is like sure as hell not me. So that's fine. But I mean, for right now, to move forward quickly, I mean, the quickest way to hire an engineering firm is to do it with the fewest number of people, right? And I'm truly asking, like, if you want a committee of people to be gathered to do that, then we can talk about that, but I'm missing something in like the efficiency goal, I think. No?
I get what you're saying, and I understand. I mean, comes down to we have to put in the RFP has to go out anyway, regardless, so. I understand that part, I'm just referring to when we pick that person, what we take to them. So at some point, we're gonna have to have a group of people that kind of have an idea of what needs to be done
Agree with you.
to even put it out there.
You're saying you want a more concrete idea before.
So if we do the RFP, we
Right.
put that out. And it's a public process, people can weigh in as they wish, and the engineering firm will be providing us expertise. Anyway, I think where we're at is, start with the first step of getting the RFP out as a board and go from there.
Yeah, respectfully, ask one question, make a remark.
You may respectfully do so.
It seems to me it's the first step ought to be to get some sort of boundaries, so you know how to craft the RFP. And there, that comes back to what do you do first? I'm not sure that doing the RFP first and getting an engineering firm and then telling the engineering firm what you want, perhaps if you could put that in the RFP, you might have gotten a different engineering firm, perhaps one more.
Okay, point well taken. I'll just say,
Yeah, maybe it's not the first step,
but we did just have an engineering study done for the site selection, which
Right.
included a lot of needs assessment and site evaluation. We understand all three sites were drastically different, so I think that's going to be the starting point for whoever the handoff or, whichever firm works on this. That's going to be sort of the foundation that they're going to work from to help steward our project. So, yeah,
Can I say something?
I hope so.
Yeah, gotta be. I'm just wondering, truly, will you create a committee later?
Where
You know
you,
what I mean?
no,
Once you got the RSP and everything else, and then you sit back and decisions start to have to be made, or you have something in front of you, now I have to develop a committee? Is that really gonna happen?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm thinking like we don't want to have a committee. That's not in any way where I'm coming from. I'm just wanting, like, I keep hearing from you, Bob, and others that we want to move this forward. Like, I keep hearing we want to move it quickly. And like, so, I mean, I'm all ears for like how to get that done, and I guess, I'm just gonna say, like, this is a really positive thing for the town. Like, I want there to be really like excited, positive, like happy and buzz about this. And I'm like, for some reason, there's a sense that that's not the kind of feeling. And I think, I don't really know what that's about, but I would just really offer curiosity around like, what's up with that, really transparently. And we need to, not necessarily now, but whenever and however, and whoever's involved in that, clear that air and restore some real enthusiasm and positivity to this, and then decide what we want to do.
I agree with you 100%. So for me, it's bigger than me. It's not, this isn't what I want, and it's not necessarily the building that I want or the place that I want. But what I do want and what I will do to make sure that happens is that it's done right. And it's not done because this thing might be $10,000 cheaper, that we just take the $10,000 route rather than doing it right. This is a bill that ultimately my grandkids will pay for and we'll have to deal with in the end. It's bigger than us sitting here.
Yep.
And I want it to be made bigger than us sitting here. Nobody knows my stance better than Mark. I mean, I had a conversation with Mark on Thursday. Mark knows exactly where I stand.
Okay.
and I told you, we feel exactly the same way.
So But where some of that frustration comes, and we can talk about the frustrations at another time if you want, but, you know, some of it was brought back in the last meeting was to reconsider certain sites, like, everybody says, well, we've already picked a site where, you know, we don't want to get stuck with something. Well, that's my point, is we're not stuck with anything yet. We haven't completely jumped in with both feet. So let's make sure we're doing the right thing before we do jump in with both feet and stick it on a site that either it clearly doesn't fit, or we're gonna have to downsize drastically just to make it fit. And we can do that because it'll fit, but it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. So that's where I'm coming from, and that's where some of this kind of frustration is coming, so.
And I think from the RFP too, I think an engineering firm might be kind of, well, what do you feel you need? So if we have some recommendations, yeah, to make to them.
Can I mean, I think I very much understand what Bobby is saying, and I think that we can proceed with an RFP for this site if an engineering firm that we acquire comes in and starts working the site and says to us a particular site isn't tenable, then we need to shift gears. But what we're left with the engineering report that we have is we have 3 very, very comparably ranked sites in different categories. Once you look at the categories, one, I understand that the highway that Bobby feels is totally untenable, which is the quarry, totally understandable. Another is an abstract piece of land. We decided as a board that we didn't want to go in that direction, but if we bring in, once we hire the engineering firm and we start getting down to brass tacks, of course, if there's ends up, I mean, I was frustrated that the last engineering firm didn't do any kind of core samples or anything. So if we get to that point, of course, then we would need to make an adjustment. So I would just assume that that's always an understood part of the process.
The engineering firms couldn't do any core samples because the landowner wouldn't let them on until,
There was some monetary activity.
so, and I think I would, but there's soil surveys that have pretty good. And, you know,
Well, yeah, if that's the case, then we're in pretty good shape.
We had talked about visiting some other town farms as well.
we should, Bobby and I are gonna go to the town of Wego in 2 weeks.
Well, I think the board would really like to do that together.
Yeah, we'd like to be invited too.
Okay, well, we just talked about, you know, well, if we plan something, get something good planned, then we'd invite everybody else to.
That sounds good.
First, we had to, you know, get something started.
Yeah, can I just add,
Jesse,
No,
yes, you may.
this has all been discussed and, you know, you guys were all gonna do this quite a long time ago and things have happened and, you know, phase 2 of the report was to find out what the needs are, right? What the space availability is and how you can work from that. You've picked the site, everything now, even the committee is being reconsidered. I just think and to save time and the money that it's cost to keep going back to all these things, clearly it's the board's decision. Bob has the expertise to provide a lot of this information of what the needs will be. I don't understand what, it just keeps going
Thank you.
in circles for
I
2
agree.
years now.
I think we should move forward as a board with the RFP.
Yep.
And go from there. I don't think it sounds, you know, if we feel like we need to harness energy from the community, we can do that. So,
committee will.
great. Okay, so that's great. Thank you. Thank you, Jesse.
So let's see, so that brings me back to my agenda and open it up for committee reports. So I'll open it up to anyone that wishes to start. Cal,
Monday, Steve Gibeon and I will be starting on just getting a survey around the old town hall to get grades and things for just getting slopes away from the building, what we need to do and how we will approach fixing up the old foundation.
great,
So anybody that would
he's
like to be.
recruited you,
Yes,
Steve's recruited you.
yeah, so we're gonna start that Monday at 1:00.
Okay, thank you, that's great. So that'll be surveying,
Yep, and just getting an idea of grades and what we need to do and where buried water lines are. So just what we can do to get what slopes need to be created and then, but also then dug out around to fix up the old foundation and then bring things up to grade.
right? So, and just so the board is aware, the plan was to excavate around the foundation to perhaps repoint it and fortify it, so, cool.
Cemeteries all got mowed by the abandoned cemeteries that the town is in charge of, got mowed and looked good for Memorial Day.
Great.
Thanks to Richard Brooks. Yeah.
Yes. So,
Just out of curiosity, does anybody put the flags on the people who died? Okay,
yeah,
good.
well, somebody did that. The somebody's were Cal Snow and Mike Moran.
Thank you.
So that's about all from me.
Okay. Good, thanks, Cal.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the
Me too.
improvements here, that's cool.
Start another big project.
Catherine,
Ag committee is meeting tomorrow at 7 outside Brookton's Market. Due to a scheduling conflict here, which I also want to just bring up for process in the future.
Yep.
When there are scheduling conflicts, I guess we should all just talk about that.
It was resolved, but uncommunicated that it was
Yeah.
resolved.
So yeah, so if there is a schedule conflict that is discovered by either a community member or one of us, I think it should come to the whole board by email to the entire board
okay,
and then
unravel it,
unravel it.
yeah,
And then if there's an attempt to fix it, even though it's appreciated, if it's not communicated to the whole board, then alternative arrangements are made.
that's what happened,
Correct. So
Okay.
it's all fine, but
okay,
it was a good like reminder that could happen and so
That it does happen.
that it does happen, in fact.
yeah, and we should, this actually came up with regard to another committee in the town recently. We didn't do it, but it was proposed to meet when the board was meeting, and so that, anyway, my point is, yeah, we want to avoid double scheduling,
Right.
even advisory committee meetings, so people can attend all they want to.
All of it.
So your meeting tomorrow is at 7 PM at Brookton's?
Yep.
And then,
Outside.
so refreshments?
Not that I know of. Bring your own. It's a BYO ag
Yeah.
meeting.
They may be having music there on Thursday evening, I want to check.
They're not.
They're not, okay, thanks.
So, and excuse me,
Yeah.
just the capital equipment committee is meeting tomorrow at 5:30, is that right?
Correct.
Here. Okay, so,
It was scheduled at 7.
right. So,
And we both corrected ourselves and
Speaking generally. as not to.
and I mean, we can put that on our town announcements, it's an advisory committee, you can handle it how you want, but I could set up the Zoom here if you think people would be interested.
I don't know why. I,
Not worried about that?
no.
Okay. Just want to make sure,
I don't know, maybe Bruce wanted to.
Zoom.
because I am going to ask Velvet to put both of these meetings on the town calendar so that people who
You
do that.
have to show me how to work the thing and then I'll set it up.
Yeah, I mean.
Maybe not for tomorrow night, but for some,
Yeah,
going forward, people wanna.
so that's I mean, so you wouldn't be required to do the Zoom part, but you could if you wanted to.
Yeah, if somebody wants to, can't sleep or something.
5:30 too early for that.
Yeah, well, usually it wouldn't be at 5:30. We'd love to have anybody come that just, I mean, Todd did an incredible financial analysis. I mean, it's what a wealth of expertise we have in this community.
That's great.
You know, it'd be,
Okay, good.
Well,
Thanks.
anyway.
Thanks for those clarifications. So,
And then just in terms of ag committee agenda, just to make it public, we will be discussing response to outreach that was sent to the zoning commission regarding ag tools. And we received a really comprehensive response, and that is the primary agenda item.
okay, great.
I can report on the zoning commission, Mark.
Great. Thank you, Tim. Go ahead.
I'm really happy, actually excited to say that the zoning commission has finished reviewing articles 1 through 4 of the proposed zoning law, which are revisions of that earlier draft that none of us really want to talk about, as well as the zoning map. That's all now available on the town website. Paper copies, I'm not sure if they're yet available, but they will be available at the town clerk's office. And we hope to have a large format map on display in the town hall atrium. Most importantly, the zoning commission is going to hold 2 public information meetings, which will be heavily advertised in the meantime. One will be a virtual meeting on June 28th from 7 to 9. And the other will be an in-person meeting on Thursday, June 30th. That'll be in the Brooktondale Fire Hall from 6:30 to 8:30. And I think that time has to do with the availability of the fire hall. What's left for the zoning commission to do in relationship of clarifying the draft that they want to present to the public is revised site plan law that's being enfolded into the zoning law. And they're working on that now. So they'll be working on that at the next zoning commission meeting, which, let me see, sorry, I didn't look that up before I started this. Let's see if I can figure it out when that is, just by looking at my calendar. 1 second.
June 7th?
7th.
The 7th, yes. It's the 7th, wait a minute.
That's correct. 7th and
7th,
21st.
7th and 21st, yes. So they've made a tremendous amount of progress. And of course, what they anticipate doing is receiving feedback from their draft and or questions, and then revising that draft accordingly. And I just want to say, as the liaison to the board, that this zoning commission meeting has worked incredibly hard now for 14 months. And I think we should be extremely appreciative of their labors and their professionalism in getting this done.
Great. Thanks, Tim. I agree. Great. And other reports or updates?
Yeah, so I went to the Ithaca Tompkins County Transportation Council Planning Committee. And found out there were a number of funding sources for Safe Roads, it's a federal program, and I'm talking with Fernando, who's in charge of the Ithaca County Transportation Council, about how we can get the ideas that would work on a town or the county roads in a rural community and write that up. So I'm still getting the information about how that would happen. I would have to make a committee, but I'm looking to define that committee with a specific task. This is in response to the petitions that the town has gotten about pedestrian, bike, just tractor safety on the roads. So I was pretty excited about that. Broadband, so I'm kind of waiting on the maps and where we are and trying to understand that still. So
Great.
It's complicated, but we have had a number of people write, about one person specifically wrote an email to me asking what's going on. And so it would be nice to be able to.
With
Tim Levitich wrote.
with broadband?
Yeah, with broadband, and he said the Frontier has just increased their prices by 20%. And so they're.
And the service went down by 40%.
Right, yeah. So I think we need to refocus on that. I was thinking if I was directly affected, I'd be more focused than I am, so. I'm really good on it.
Yeah, I guess
We've got to do something with it.
yeah, I mean, I think we have to take this. And I know it's been a long haul, but I think there's some tremendous opportunities coming for broadband and
Right, through the state.
there's a
The
state,
fund,
yeah, and so part of that is gonna be planning, but yeah, we should start developing a plan and that. So did you have a question for Kate?
Yeah, I'm not aware of any petitions for safety that have ever been, has there been petitions handed in?
There was a petition given,
The speed limit
the
one?
speed limit one, well, on Landon Road and the number of pedestrians. There have been concerns with farm equipment, tractors, things like that with people.
There's actually been a petition.
No,
There was a letter from Landon Road.
Yeah, there's a petition by Ken
petition to
Miller.
lower the speed limit, which
Yeah.
is the process. It's
Right.
when people want to lower a speed
Yeah.
limit. So we have that.
Right,
I was looking for Lounsbury Road, right? For Lounsbury Road as well.
Lounsbury,
That was
Landon.
I have to look back at it probably.
We've got another one, it was a while ago, was it up at Coddington? This
Yeah,
was like a year.
Lounsbury is the one I'm thinking of.
It was Lounsbury and Landon together.
Yeah.
That petition was both roads.
And I believe there was another one, but it was like a year and a half ago.
Or Coddington Road, yes.
Yeah, for Coddington.
I don't think there was ever a petition. It was just something that Irene Weiser always very frequently brought up to the board, but I don't recall there being a specific petition.
I remember signing something with lots of names on it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jesse can probably,
Never
Jesse,
got turned in.
I don't think there's ever.
I don't either.
turned into a hard
I would have
stop.
remembered that, so, yeah.
Just didn't get turned in.
Petition.
Didn't get, okay.
There was for Lounsbury.
Well, the number of people walking has increased a lot since 2020. On roads.
I did have a resident from Brookendale with concerns about traffic.
Yeah.
Anyway, great,
Anyway, so that's where I am.
okay,
Okay.
thank you. Great. Any other reports from the town board, committee reports? Hearing none, I will move on to approval of the minutes of May 11th.
wait, I actually have a question.
Oh,
Just sorry, about if we have a petition that's, we are in possession of already, like the Lounsbury one, can we move that forward independent of this proposed committee?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I think the
Okay.
proposed committee is like future looking because
Okay,
it's a number of years. A plan has to be written
Right.
and then there are these steps because it's federal money. It's,
okay.
Yeah.
So I guess I would like to move that we move that petition
to the county,
ahead to the county,
sure. Okay,
because,
well, if you go to the state, right? We go to Nice Shot, not the county.
Wherever it needs to go, I
Oh,
think
you're
we
right,
need.
Lounsbury's a county road.
It doesn't
Yes.
Land-
It doesn't matter, it all goes to
It goes to the
the
state.
county and then the county sends it
Oh,
to the
okay.
state. So-
All right,
So,
Right.
that's fine, so.
I just don't want to have a deterrent to other people coming forward about specific other sections of road, like we need to make it a good example of that petition and
right.
do something with it.
I agree.
Do you have the information about the Cottington Road sign then? I don't know anything about it. I just heard
No.
it came up.
No, that was always more word of mouth. And I think it's somewhat of a short section of road, but apparently the residents along there have always been concerned about it. And when Irene was on the board, she's the person who reported that to the board.
Okay,
So if anyone knows any of those residents, we can proactively request
I'll
that
get a-
if it is still a thing, they can send.
I'll
it.
get a hold of them.
So
Well, I can ask Irene also,
But
kind of brought something up a few meetings back, in regards to speed limits. And I had recommended that the board write something to the sheriff's department or phone call or anything like that. Would go a lot farther. Than, I mean, we're gonna wait for the county, we're gonna wait for the state. By the time you see anything back, chances are it's gonna be next year before you see anything.
yeah,
well, we could do both things.
What's up?
We could do both.
Well, we could, but we'd have to. So what I'm
Right.
saying is I asked a while ago, nobody's done anything, we contacted the sheriff's department.
Who gets to contact the sheriff's department?
well, I remember calling them up one day and saying,
I
we
mean,
had quite a few after. a
I'm saying a
meeting.
formal letter from the board.
Yeah, that would probably go farther, but I remember just calling them, the dispatcher said, well, I'll put it on. He had some specific name for it, but it probably happened one day.
Right, now I've called. the
Yeah,
developer.
I called, he put the thing on, but. I mean, just,
I think a formal letter would
Formal
go
letter.
a lot farther.
Put
It'd
a
be great
formal
if we
letter
could
to the
get that.
sheriff about Landon and
or just,
Lounsbury
or
Road.
just speed monitoring in Caroline.
Yeah,
I think
speed
you
monitoring
should-
in Caroline, is that what you're saying, speed monitoring in Caroline?
It's not just.
Right.
It's not just Landon Road.
Right,
It's,
My phone rings off the hook all
Right,
week long, and it is not just Landon Road, and it's not just Lounsbury Road. It's every road in the town of Caroline, and when I say every road, I'm talking about Rayleigh Hill, I'm talking about roads that you would never think anybody could get going that fast on, but they do. There's people driving through the hamlet of Speedsville at 80 miles an hour, the speed limit is 35,
okay,
but none of us can do anything about it
right,
without enforcement, the only one's getting enforcement is the sheriff's department and the troopers.
okay,
So,
but
Can we
you
also-
were proposing to do something, actionable based on petition we received about particular.
Well, I think we've got multiple things, we've got the
Yeah.
petition that needs to move for the process, even if it's slow, then there's, I mean, I think it would be great, like, so a formal letter, does that need to come from you, or can one of us write that?
if it's.
Can come from the board or.
If it's on the town stationery signed by the supervisor, I think.
I will
that's-
draft a letter.
But
You draft the letter,
I would propose to
yeah,
call the sheriff's
Or call the
department and
sheriff.
talk to them about it.
yeah, well, I have called them at least twice, but, if it's keep it up or, a formal letter, like Bob's right, would go quite a ways, or just, it would help. It's in writing.
Documented. writing.
Otherwise, if I call up, I'm just, I tell people when they call me to bitch about something, write it in a letter and send it in, take versus. Because one way you're just venting steam and the other you're taking,
you can hide a phone call, you can't hide a letter.
yeah. So it would, just some more speed enforcement out here.
Okay, very generally,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
because that's how it feels.
Yeah, the speed monitor you've got outside, can you move that to different places?
You can,
Could
it's not user friendly at all. It's supposed to be Bluetooth, everything has to be done Bluetooth to change everything. We
What's it
set it-
set at now?
Right now it's set at 45,
One of the things cost.
So,
about $4,000.
but the thing is that we need to be able to use it. I mean, it's been shown that does make people slow down.
Yeah. We can use it on our roads.
Well, let's use it on, can we move it, where could you move it then? We're only allowed to use it on the town roads, we can't use it on the county roads?
You can't put it on a county road or a state road.
Okay, but we could request for the county to use theirs on our,
You can call the county and request anything you want, but I can't put.
Right.
The town of Caroline
Okay.
can't put a sign on
Okay, but you could use it on some town roads.
I can put it on town roads.
Okay, have you put it on town roads?
No, because I can't even actually get this thing to communicate with my laptop standing next to it. It's actually supposed to
Okay.
give us reports, it's supposed to do all this other
Right.
stuff, we're supposed to be able to go and change it,
So it's not working, it's not.
It's not working.
I mean, I don't know. It is.
No.
We bought it and it doesn't work.
Who, is that new? Is that a new
Brand new.
piece of equipment?
That one was brand new.
Actually, that's on a county road.
It's legit in a parking lot, really, but,
Oh, okay.
but it hasn't slowed anybody down, it's turned into a game. I can
Well,
sit in my
it-
office and watch the lights.
It slowed my son down the other day.
But is there something that we need to like fix? Like, do we need to repair it in some way or?
We do, if
Well,
it's,
it comes down to some software, whether something's not.
well, I mean, if we
Not
bought it, and we
matching, but-
can't use it because it's not working, then it's not, we gotta fix it. We gotta get it
Well,
fixed.
we are currently using it, it's there, I've got it set for there, so we've been using it for there.
Okay, great.
We'll just have to, we had to figure this software out.
Okay.
I'm sure that Jesse will be able to sit down and
Okay,
get caught up enough, that we'll be able
I mean,
to.
because that's something we could put on somewhere in Speedsville or on Landon or some of the town roads where people are.
Speedsville's a county road.
Oh, it. So,
A large sign on a piece of plywood that has some not very,
No,
it works, it works. People drive up that road and they slow down even though the sign's not there anymore.
I want to see the data.
You can't see it,
Lots and
but I
lots of
know.
bright lights.
And I think there's somebody back there might be backing me up on it.
Well, I was just slowing down so I could read.
Oh, is that why? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Moving along.
yeah,
Yeah,
let's
we
move
digress
along.
again.
So, did we finish the discussion
Yeah,
about
sorry.
Yeah.
road safety and,
Yeah.
what's that?
if we want to talk about striping.
I
Okay.
don't know. I-
One of the ways on the, to do some rural traffic calming, which is on the local roads website, is to stripe a road. And we've talked about this a couple of times, to stripe a town road, to put a white stripe, so that people don't go to the middle and go really fast and feel like they've got a shoulder on either side, they're kind of over the side, they're kind of tilted, and they slow down. Can we stripe some roads?
You mean the edge stripe, the white
No,
one?
no, the white middle stripe.
Well, that'll be fine, but a lot of our roads really aren't too wide.
Or what?
They're not wide enough.
Oh,
You gotta have a driving lane, so if you don't have a minimum of 16 feet,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have legit driving lanes. A lot of these roads were just old secondary roads. that
Right, I
haven't been
know.
widened out. So you can't just go
Let
flat
me
straight.
take a look at the local roads website, because I don't remember the specifics on that, whether the rules on it, because, okay, how about I take a look at it? It's been a while since I looked at it, but I just thought, you know, when the road is wider, I mean, when you're in the middle, you feel like you can go fast, right? So, just trying to make it feel a little more cramped for people to slow down. So,
So if you put a straight line on a narrow road,
Mhm.
you'll create another hazard.
how's that?
Because everybody is gonna ride the shoulder of the road. So where you're talking about people walking, where you want to stray, you're not gonna have gravel in the road. Because everybody's gonna cut off the edge of the blacktop because they can't cross that line. You're actually gonna solve one hazard and create another hazard, and I can show you right now, if you wanna take a ride to the Narrows. That is a road that's wide enough, but everybody cuts the corner, Catherine knows.
I can tell you.
There's
what.
gravel in that road all the time.
Yeah.
It's constantly getting swept off, no sooner it gets swept off, now there's gravel back in it.
We need to find a way to somehow slow people down.
I've already mentioned that.
I know, everything I'm coming up with, I'm just getting shut down, so I want to figure out how to get something done,
If you,
so.
have you ever done 55 miles an hour past Carolina School?
Used to.
You don't anymore, there's a reason you don't anymore, because you got a ticket. If
No,
you can get somebody to sit on Landon Road or Lonsbury Road, or Brookendale, or whatever road you want, and actually hand out some tickets, I guarantee you that their traffic will slow down.
Where-
I mean, Kate, if you want to draft a letter to the sheriff, as the committee person.
Yeah, I could do that.
Then,
Sure, I'll do that.
and then you'd have maybe some,
Yeah, I could do that. I mean, you know,
I
I mean, I am teaching my son how to drive right now, and I was like, slow down. It's like, why? I was like, there's a person walking. It's like, I'm not gonna hit him. I said, you're gonna hit rocks towards them. Because people don't get out and walk enough, and then they think they're in the car and they're just like the king of the road. But the thing is that how to change that, and no, I gotta say, it's not because I'm gonna get a ticket that I slow down. I slow down because I think cars are dangerous, and I try to be responsible.
So me and 5 other people know this better than anybody standing in this room. Me and the 5 guys that work for me
Mhm.
know more about this than you can imagine. We're actually the ones that have to stand out there on that road when everybody drives 65 miles an hour out. And believe me when I say this, I'm this close to buying an old marked police car that I can drive to every one of my job sites and just park there. I don't care if I gotta tow it there. But something.
That's a good idea, Bobby. That's a really good idea.
And it looks like a sheriff's car. People just slow down a mile ahead of time when they see some lights.
I like it.
I remember back in the 90s, I knew a mom who would put an empty stroller next to her house to slow people down.
So it's-
But
I mean,
So-
anyway, but we've
we
got to
can
be able to
legit-
figure something out, and that's what this committee will someday do. So that's what I'm hoping.
Well, I hear your concerns about road safety and so, yeah. Right,
It's town wide,
Yeah.
it's everywhere.
okay,
So unless we can get some help with some real authority, I don't think it's a problem. We can change every speed limit in town, it's not gonna do anything. People are still gonna drive, they're driving over the speed limits now, so.
okay.
We actually need a little bit stronger help than we have now, so.
Okay. Okay, great. So to be continued. Thank you,
Yep.
everybody. So so approval of the minutes of May 11th. Does anybody have feedback for the minutes? All good?
Good.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Jesse. The minutes of May 11th are approved. And then agenda items for next week. I think Todd is for the capital equipment committee is gonna make a presentation. Yes. And then I will offer a resolution to authorize the zoning commission to use the services of CP and EA, the community planning consultant, with beyond the cap of the proposal, but within the 2022 planning budget on an as needed basis. And let's see, we did that tonight. I will offer a resolution and we will draft in the next couple of days a resolution on the town protocol for the video conferencing, remote attendance of public officials to public meetings by video conferencing. And then Bob gave us the 284 agreement, so we'll put that up for review and approval. And then so I will also like to have this written down at the bottom here. So we have a code officer candidate that we have interviewed and are favorably impressed with. So I would like to move ahead to offer him a position with the town. And I would formalize that with a resolution next week. I would propose to start him at $28 an hour. And then he would, and that would be on a provisional basis. And then he would be subject to trainings that he still needs to do for code enforcement. So I will offer that next week, and I will speak to him to see if he's
interested in the job.
So we offer a resolution before he's accepted.
What's that?
I don't think so.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, I appreciate the
I think after
transparency of the
steps,
process, but
Because I
like,
think also
we
the
don't have,
the salary might be a little fluid there.
Well, I will offer a resolution to offer the position to this candidate at $28 an hour with the advertised benefits on a provisional basis.
Second,
Seconded by Tim, and further discussion.
I honestly just didn't know that was the process prior
It's,
to an offer.
I think it's fine, but I will, next week I'll, so
Offering that now.
I am offering that now, yeah.
And
Did
it's
you-
been seconded, but
What's the name of the code officer?
His name is,
Mark, that's still privileged information until the offer is made.
okay,
We'll have to go into executive session.
that's true.
Well, I guess I'm saying, I don't know, but I'm out. I expressed my question.
Your question is about whether to formalize this with a resolution before we make the offer.
My question is, why do we have a resolution for a job offer?
We do need a resolution for a job offer to, so that, to specify the wage rate, the proposed wage rate and the terms.
Is this an increase?
But we can make, Catherine, we can make the offer provisional upon the board's passing the resolution so that Mark would be
Right.
able to make the offer now and we can formalize it next week.
Right,
And when we formalize it next week, then we would be able to also identify the candidate. Assuming that the candidate is willing to move forward.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm just curious. I really don't know. I'm just curious.
yeah,
That's
So it's a resolution to offer to hire the candidate.
to offer, the resolution is to offer the position
Offer the position.
to the candidate.
Can't we just pass that resolution next week once we've touched base with the market?
Yeah.
That's just what's been done in the past, is all I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
It's been after the,
Yes, the last two code officers, it's been, the resolution is passed.
once the agreement is made, yeah,
Yes.
okay,
That's what I thought. That's what I thought I remembered.
okay.
Isn't that what I?
So what,
I think that's what you
what if he
said.
comes back?
What's that?
What if he comes back and says he wants a little more money? What if he comes back and wants a little more money and stuff like that before he passes the resolution? So I'm just wondering.
I think that's why we don't have a resolution.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
I mean, there could potentially.
Was that first?
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. So, yeah,
What'd she say?
so did anybody second the resolution?
So it was seconded.
I withdraw my second.
You withdraw the second, the resolution tabled or whatever, yeah.
Yes.
withdrawn. Withdrawn.
It's tabled or withdrawn.
We figured it out. It's good. So,
Are we listed as a living wage employer in Tompkins County?
Yeah.
What's the current living wage?
it's,
Around $17, isn't it?
Tell you.
I think it's 16,
1650 maybe?
what is it?
I think it's 1650 maybe, something like that.
I know that we're above the living wage rate. So they update it every 2 years, so
It is $15.32 an hour.
there you go.
Okay.
15 or 15?
15.
Okay.
15,
All right, so
that's interesting.
Is that
Great.
with health insurance or without?
thank you, it's with,
Well, this
Yeah.
position is with.
Although that's 2021, so it's
So-
recertified every 2 years.
okay, great. I think we're there.
Are we there?
Any other things to mention? Okay, with that, I'll offer a resolution to adjourn the meeting,
Second?
seconded by Cal. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Stay longer.
Great. Meeting is adjourned at, what time is it?
8:52.
8:52. Good. Great. Thanks, everybody.
I have a